my name is Silas Brepsky and welcome to Inside the Classroom. Today we're going to be covering the mock crime scene investigation, which is an annual event held by the forensics class here at Nauset High School. It's done by our very own Mrs. Heppenstall, who teaches the forensics class. And it's going to be done in collaboration with the honors acting class participants, who will be the suspects in the case. A couple of different policemen and policewomen from local departments, and the Barnstable Bureau of Crime Investigation will be here evaluating the students as they perform their tasks. Today I'm here with Officer Bohannon, and so Mr. Bohannon, what is like the involvement that you're going to be like? What's your task in all forensics?
We come here today to judge the competition that's happening. Okay. We watch what the students are doing to process the crime scene and give them little tips on how they can do it better, and critique a little bit how they go through the process. Okay,
so it's sort of like you're teaching them how you would do it in like a real life scenario, but you're also evaluating them at the same time.
Correct, yeah, we're helping the teacher evaluate how they're processing their scene, and then we may give them little tips along the way as to things we've learned through the years and how they can do it better.
How did the police department become involved in the forensic class? Like, were they asked, or did it just slowly become a thing?
Actually, the teacher, Mrs. Heppenstall, contacted me a few years ago and asked if we would be willing to come over and take part in it, which I think is a great idea. We're always looking for ways to be more involved in the community, and especially at the schools.
And it's Barnstable Crime Investigation Bureau is also going to be involved, I heard?
Yes. So Matt Smith, who is the director of the Barnstable crime scene unit, is here today, and he takes part in a little bit more of the forensic side of it with the fingerprint analysis, DNA collection, fibers, stuff like that. That's more his area of expertise, so he judges that, and we do a little more of just the everyday stuff that we deal with securing crime scenes, minor evidence collection.
So you cover sort of both bases, like the in-lab experiments and how that works, and then the on-field technicalities.
Correct, yes.
Okay, well, thank you for talking.
You're welcome.
Now I'm here with the murder victim in his very own coffin. So Luca, you're part of the honors acting class, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and how did you get this part? Did you choose it? Were you assigned it?
I chose this part mainly because I liked the name, Sonny, but also when I found out I could be dead, it was definitely a plus.
Mm-hmm. Getting to experience the whole coffin lifestyle.
Yes.
Well,
nice.
Are you excited for this event? You know, have you guys been preparing, or is this just a sort of event you just go to and wing it? Or?
We've been preparing for over a month. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, we recorded a film, which the CSI class is now watching, and now we're going to do the funeral where we all get interviewed.
Okay. So you guys, on your own, for the forensics event, you created a film which is sort of the story behind the crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. How many honors acting participants are there? Like, how many people are involved in that class?
Well, everyone in the class participated in some way.
Yep.
Actually, I believe everyone got a role.
Really? Okay.
Even the crew.
That's pretty cool. All right. So everyone's definitely involved. It's definitely a huge collaboration. Yeah. All right. And you're excited for today?
Oh yeah, definitely
excited to be dead today.
Yeah.
All right, and that was Luca Del Deo, guys. So, Mrs. Hep.
Yes.
Where did this all start? Was it an idea? Was it like a classwork experiment? You know, what started the entire forensics?
Sure. Many years ago, and I'm not remembering how long at this point, I found a competition on Long Island where you could take high school students and do something very similar to this, but it was very large scale. My first year, there were 75 teams, and so there were 75 identical crime scenes set up in this huge gymnasium, and they had actors, and they had built this elaborate set for the actors to be a part of. And so I took my team to Long Island of 10 kids, and we had an absolute blast. And I thought, this is something that I need to do here. So it's not a completely original idea, but I did get Ms. Hamer on board because she's the honors acting teacher, and they are my witnesses, and I set up the crime scenes, and so we work together in this big, beautiful celebration of forensic science, and it's really super fun.
And so they're graded on this, right?
They are. This is their term 4 grade.
Okay, so you teach them all about forensics in the class, and then this is sort of like the big thing where they actually get to experience sort of what it would be like to go out into the field and have their own crime scene.
Yep, they learn the skills, and this is where the proof is in the pudding, whether or not they can pull it off.
Yeah, especially getting the police department involved, the crime scene investigation bureau. So how did that start? Like, when did you start reaching out to the outside sources, like of law enforcement?
I did that immediately. One of the things that I learned from the Long Island trip was they had forensic science professors, they had detectives, they had police officers, they had a lot of people that were in the field of forensics doing the evaluation. And so that's what I have embraced, that the police officers that are here, they are evaluating the students on whether or not they're doing it really correctly. And so I've taught them the skills. The police officers who have actually been in the field are the ones that are evaluating whether or not they're doing it well.
Okay. So you want to head over to the tables over there and explain, some of the equipment?
Let's go take a look. Okay, so this is one of our processing tables. This is for fingerprints, and this is all the equipment that they're going to need to lift the fingerprints off the evidence that they recover in their crime scenes. And so they'll use the black powder and the fingerprint brushes, which I'm going to get completely dirty from doing. And this is exactly like they use on all of the great crime shows to pick up the powder and dust the evidence. And then what they will do is they will use tape to lift it off and note cards to put it on, so that they can then in turn go back to their exemplar book and match the fingerprints.
Okay, so then they have a book of fingerprints of all of the suspects.
That's correct. They have suspect fingerprints so that they can start making matches. The chemistry portion of the crime scene. Our first. And
you also teach chemistry?
I do teach chemistry as well. That's right. So the first side is our toxicology lab, and what we have are all simulated. I can't stress it enough. It's all simulated poisons and drugs in the event that they find something at the crime scene that they need to test. And so this was like a lab that we did in class, and they'll be able to determine an unknown based on the chemicals that they have here. And again, it's simulated. There's no real drugs, no real poisons, obviously, right? And then over here is our blood typing station in the event that they find blood, and again, it's simulated. They can come over here so that they can test the blood type. And so all the chemicals here are what they need to do that.
Okay, so there is definitely a lot of planning even to the chemicals and other solutions that you drop at the crime scene.
That's correct.
Yeah,
That's
so
correct.
There's definitely a lot of forethought about what you're going to put where and exactly the chemical formula you
Yes,
use.
absolutely. This is our last station, and this is for hair and fiber evidence. So we've got our microscopes and our slides ready. And then this is our anthropology station. In the event that they find bones, which is a new part to our lab this year, or to our crime scene rather, we're gonna have, and don't tell anybody yet, because it's the secret, they don't know about it yet. There's gonna be human remains found that they're gonna have to figure out who they belong to and why that is relevant. This is hair and fibers, so they're going to have, they may or may not find stuff on in the crime scene that they're going to have to then come and match to find out who they belong to and why it's relevant.
Okay, well, thank you.
I'm Oscar Spiegel. I'm James Tooker, and we're playing the policemen Stan and Frank Hammer.
Hi, I'm Chloe O'Neill, and right now we are interrogators of the witnesses, so we're just going around and asking them simple questions to try to get a feel for who we may need to rule out and who could be one of our better suspects. We just made a list of all of the suspects that we feel that we need to question, and we're going to go through each one, and based on what we just saw and eventually the evidence that they collect, we're going to come up with appropriate questions to ask them to try to figure out who is to rule out some suspects.
Okay, and what did you see? It was a video put together by the honors acting participants, but
Yes.
what was the video about?
Basically, there's this guy as kind of a mob boss kind of thing, and he is murdered. And so it starts with after he's murdered when the police arrive, and then it goes back and tells the events of that day leading up to it, so you can establish like the story and the characters and like suspects and whatnot. So,
Okay.
We processed the information we saw on the video, and we're trying to think of questions what to ask
The suspects.
And so some questions are like why, like Vinny looks suspicious. No, what was his name? Donnie looks suspicious because he owed Sonny money, and then he threatened, like, I don't know, he was like saying that, like, oh, I'll get him out of my hair. And same with Isabella. Isabella said that he'll get her dad out of her hair because he didn't let her get married.
So after watching the video and looking at all like the suspects' information, you're sort of trying to get questions to narrow it down then?
Yeah,
We're
to narrow
trying
it
to
down.
generate questions to connect the
Everyone
dots.
kind of looks
Know
suspicious
what's
right
going
now
on
to
here.
us, actually.
Okay, so everyone's technically a suspect at this
Yeah,
point.
right
Okay.
now.
Yes.
So what are you doing right there?
Well, currently right now I'm drawing the crime scene to scale and making sure I get all the different details just before we start moving things or starting to mess around with things in the crime scene.
Okay, so you're getting like the basic layout so you know where things were before you started the investigation.
Yes, so that way we know if anybody moved anything, we have all the measurements.
Well, my next step, if
Really good friends. We've always been around each other. Married to my sister Sherry.
Okay. What is your opinion of Mr. Lefebvre?
I haven't been able to think or anything, and I mean, I know that we were just friends and everything, but I feel like our roles would have been that.
Okay. And what was your reasoning for attending the party that was held?
Well, it's my sister Sherry's husband. I mean, it's just a whole family gathering.
Sonny?
Yes.
Oh, he's a great man. I was his lawyer. I helped him through everything. My mother before me was his lawyer, but she died in an unfortunate accident, so I took over.
Okay. What is your opinion of Mr. Lefebvre? How do you?
He's a great man. He's always been nice to me. He's always been there for me. Took me in like one of his own when my mother died. He's just been like a father to me.
Okay. And do you have any conflicts at all with him, or is it just?
No, I mean, business is always a bit stressing, but other than that, I think we've had a pretty good relationship.
Okay. And how often do you meet with him?
About once a week or so, twice this week because of the anniversary, but yeah, just business-wise, sometimes lunch.
Did Mr. Lefebvre ever have any money troubles, or?
I'm really not supposed to be saying this, but Basil, the waiter, I guess, he's been skimming off the top a little, and it's really put Mr. Lefredo in a damper. And plus the money that Donnie has been skimming, just can't deal with it.
Oh, okay. And do you think that Mr. Lefredo was relatively well liked?
Yeah, he's very liked, but it seems he's had a little out of touch with his daughter lately because of the whole wedding and Donnie being Donnie. So.
Are you attracted to her?
I'm sorry, but my Sherry is way too beautiful. No offense to Carlota, but Sherry is.
Great. That's all I have to ask you for now.
All right.
I'm I'm Gabby Jen, and today I'm portraying Angela. Well, I have two last names: Garfunkel, Lafredo. So yeah.
I'm Andy O'Sullivan, and I'm playing Babyface, right hand of a mob boss.
And I'm his wife.
Baby? Oh, really? You know, he's basically what I am to Alphonse, what I am to Sonny. So me and him don't get along that well. A couple of years back, we had a poker game at my house. Say we just didn't end well. So me and him, we don't talk much.
He was my boss, you know. He was my boss first and foremost, but he was also almost like a father.
Okay, and what is your opinion of him? Do you think highly or?
He was a good man. He took me in. He helped me.
Okay. Do you have any conflicts with him ever?
No, not at all.
No? And do you know anything about these people that have supposedly gone missing in the restaurant recently?
Sorry. I can't tell you much. So many faces come through there. It's hard to keep track of everyone. Besides, I'm mostly in the back.
Thank you, that's all. I love him and miss him very much. And I'd like to give these to him. These were the roses, the same type of roses he gave to my mother on their first date. And then 9 months later, I was here. He was a good man, my father. I'm sure he had his problems, but we had our problems as a family, but I truly believe that he was a good man, and I'd like to take a moment to thank him.
You think that woman with those little lots of finger-guns? My boy. I didn't even give him the recipes. Oh no, not give him the recipes.
Yeah, you should. No, but I didn't know what it is, right?
Be drawn to scale, but it should be, everything should be relative square
The letters are for identifying the evidentiary pieces for the narrative as well as for court purposes later. So you can just go and explain, like, item A is the knife, and item I is the coffee mug with a spoon in it. It makes it easier than saying the glass that was on the table. In this situation, there's 5 glasses that are on the table.
So instead of saying, the wine glass in the back right corner, you would say,
correct, you can say,
piece of evidence H.
The wine glass with placard H on it is something that can...
So it makes it easier and more streamlined to, talk about it later on.
Because in the end, you have to, you're building this crime scene so that you can explain it later on.
Yeah.
And putting the placards, it's just easier.
Yeah. I hope you enjoyed a look inside of Mrs. Heppenstall's classroom and to get, sort of a sense of what the forensic class experiences every year. It's a pretty trademark thing here at Nauset. Not a lot of schools offer the same programs that we do, and especially this one in particular. And I hope you enjoyed the show.